Then try and follow the lane up to the extent that I can. And that goes into the previous chemical science box. I'll have to do military science at some point, too. And then the question is, how cheesy do I want to make this? So I have an opportunity to change this up somewhat, but set input priority so it'll pull off of this line until it's done. Yes. Alrighty. Sometimes it's not a mistake, it's an opportunity for correction. Alrighty. Then I'm seeing proper blasting on that side of the highway again. And proper chip production too. Kind of pushing it to the max that it can go, which is not very fast at all. Alright, we're going to a temporary fill up there. Yeah. That's going to be great. Then do I take it over 1 IPS? And I don't think these are even going to hit that. And I have to put a line there while I have the opportunity to. Because eventually I can move military science out of this slot. And maybe even furnaces too. Distant dreams. Maybe a couple of production nightmares in there, but I'll live with it. Then just be a little sad that I need to put in another steel line somewhere in order to get that to really run at the rate I want it to. It's like, more work. Work, work, work. All I do is work. Then I'll probably have to do a... Well, I can do a calculation, or I can just do a head count. Because if I see... That's one line. Probably... With all of these inactive drills, there's probably at least 2 lines of these free, where I can convert that over to steel. Using assembly lines over here. 2, 4, 6, 8. Right. And then I think the gap's just being caused by... I think the gap in the assembly line is just being caused by this not being fast enough before it hits this in-feed station. And it'll go away if I put in red belts. Because it's 15 IPS plus whatever gets put on for quality, so there'd have to be like a little gap in there to make it the perfectly stacked belt. And that's just something where it's like, well... Oof. Do I need perfect? And in some places, the answer is going to be, yes, absolutely. You know, why are you questioning the need for perfect? And in other places, it's going to be like, no, not really. I'd probably get another entire assembly line out of that. And then that would let me go for processing units. Processing units. Sorry, robot frames. Over here. My brain gets skippy. And there is a reason why I want to do it this way. If I get 100 of these, I know I can do something. If I get 100 of the blue and the green ones at rare, I know I can do it even better. Bigger, faster, stronger, more efficient. Then I need steel furnaces here next. And on a relatively slow assembly line instead of a fast one if I want it to grow up. So why don't I do that? Because you need the copper coming in at that rapid pace, or it burns out. And the machine's like, you didn't give me 20. Why didn't you give me 20? Okay, put that there. And if that looks like I can do that all on a line, potentially I can. But for right now, that's going to be a negatory. So there's going to be another warehouse over here just handling LDS. I think is how I want to do this. Or am I just going to say, no, there's not. I'm getting enough of those from recrafts right now that I'm probably going to have a stockpile that fills up a warehouse with 4,000 of those. Well, 4,000 divided by 20 is 200. And this is kind of like Coffee's familiarity with his inventory. I'll need 20 of these, right? In order to get arms like that. And you'll see that pattern repeating throughout this. So knock off a 0 and divide it by 2. And I'll be able to make 200 of some of these parts. Processing units is the truly painful one because you want those for Spidertron legs. And then 50? Yeah, but then I want 200 processing units because of that in order to make one. So I'm thinking about, like, how much of these do I need? Do I actually need to put in a processing station over here that follows this weird pattern of doing some of one but not some of another? You know, pulling a certain amount out for quality control. And what I'm seeing right now is, nah, it's fine. Then what's the quality minus on here? So I can potentially do 2% quality on this with a slight speed penalty if I throw in 4 quality 2s, but I lose the productivity. Maybe after Fulgora. Who knows? Boom, 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 boom. And then figure an uncommon furnace on each side. Because that's going to speed it up by a lot for the steel. Just do that production on site because it's doesn't have to be exciting. Then look over to this partially running one and be like, and we could make even more quality iron by doing a slight adjust, or what else could we do? Because this is 1.33 times 6. Yeah. This is being fed into a single rather than a double. Two lane on the little highway. Yeah, just hustle that over and drop it right off, and if I ever need to expand, that entire belt's reserved for that. And maybe I'll take some off and send it to replace what's going to be lost here. Well, no. That's being fed in from another source. I have to remember that fast lane still works. Once this is gone, it's gone, but oh well. Not a huge deal. So that'll go up. Drop down in there for now. And once I'm at that point, I can go take it. Wrap that up. And largely just follow this run of parts. There's going to be another little robot port box somewhere around here. And then I can put that join down in there to save belts, now that I know what I'm doing. It's like, oh, half of it's going this way then? Cool. And I'll just run the other half around that tree. Hop that over. Same deal here, where half of it is going to go into box. Then patch that into the existing LDS line over there. Using some of those existing belts too. And the entire point of this is to get a good volume of launch logistics going so that I can look over at this thing and go, you're getting the foundation you need from Novice. Right now it appears to be a shortage of LDS over here anyways that's hanging this up. I think because that unit didn't get done while the system was contracting. And maybe keep those boxes in there for now. So that won't run out anytime soon. And still rails that's killing me. Why is it still rails that's killing me though? So let's take a moment and see. Steel's short because it's not a mass production line. So that's one issue. 20 science per minute's just not going to cut it for me. So that's one to add to the maintenance backlog. But alright. Oh. There is one more thing I need to start doing. I realized. This is stack size 50. Okay, so 50 times 10. So Ryan's going to start dropping that down here. That little O was like, and I could be doing more clever stuff with this. Because see, now I've got building supplies to go just a little bit further. But that's going to be fuel in case I need to pull this and move this all over here, which was an idea. Because I'm looking for areas where I can go and hold it. And if not, hold it aggressively, then at least play close to the chest, because see how that guy popped up there? The pentapods do spread back. And I'm not going to be on this planet forever. But because of how huge this swamp is, I feel like this is the desert Gleba, where it's like, you have this huge working area, but like areas where the pentapods can spawn across really easy. And that would make a better actual base over there, too, which is the hard thing. So it's like, I'm right, I do have to move that over there. And be like, no, this is where I can get good quantities of stone and landfill and everything else. You know, you had a good idea in the first place. A potential option is to landfill in this whole entire area, but then that's supplies for pentapods and agri-towers just gone. It does work in this case, though, I think, to have that mentality, though. Where it's like, just give me 1,000 of those. Let's see what we can get, kind of thing. I don't know if that's something that won't eventually get patched out, is the pentapods have a sense of smell that you can tell by hitting F4 and going into the debug settings, which you can use to predict your plays, and I don't want to use that, because I don't think that's going to be somebody's go-to move at this time. That's pushing it into, we want to win in 40 hours territory, and I'm just not that desperate for that kind of experience. Alright, excellent. Already got one of those done. So these are about 1 rank better, because they're 1.3 times as good. But the tricky thing with that is these will always have a better power to weight ratio. So, and in terms of cost, I wouldn't be surprised if these were several times as much, but it ends up looking comparable to the uncommon ones for what you get, and it's actually balanced against each other. I'd have to sit down and bust out a spreadsheet, and that's another thing where it's like, I feel like there's a limit to how much mathematical analysis people do before they run into these campaigns. Okay. One more splitter, so that this all gets fed through. Because this is actually the more important stage of this op. And depending on what I see, I may have the priority filters fixed to enforce that. Say, no, this stage is more. Okay, 0.38, 0.38, and I have 0.51, 0.51. Looking at steel consumption here, which says, yeah, that's good. Crafting speed 2.9 in comparison to crafting speed, what are we looking at down here? Oh, 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 crafting speed 1, but what am I am I doing? Oh, wow. 0.6 a second versus 0.23 a second. Okay. On 2 stations. Oh, wow. Okay. So how much of that gold stuff am I doing at this time? If I... Yeah, that's not gonna fully fulfill that. Oh, okay. And there's gonna be a couple of points where it's like, still not gonna get it up to 100%. What's a man to do? Alright, landfill over here is functioning as intended. Copper's probably gonna run out. So this is something where, ooh, that's gonna be interesting for the post-op to talk about that. Okay. So I have to look at my checklist and be like, what's gone, what's not. Fixed green science is done. Stockpile carbon's done. LDS is done. I have one of these boxes making 0.6 a second out of... Those are probably 0.12 a second because of how fast they move. Because it's 10 seconds versus 20 seconds, right? That's always the tricky part. Where do you fulfill this stuff? And I need like 18 seconds. Yeah. So for right now, what's probably going to happen is I'm going to look over at one of these machines and just be like, yeah, we're just going to have the bots deliver in and make a small quantity of that. Treat it like military science is being treated now. Give that a once over. And just be like 200. And use the bots for delivery down there. Because I have a certain amount of patience for mass production and improvement. And I don't. And we're going back to Gleba. Okay, now Novice needs to continue doing stuff. Check on my power grid. It does want more solar panels, I feel. Speaking of that giant box of landfill, or two, continue my giant power offset. Sometimes solar panels are a useful demonstration of efficiency, and other times they're situational comedy. This is being used for situational comedy at this time. I apologize. We're keeping an assembler busy with this idea.